What better way to return from a long, unexplained absence than by talking about the dangers of inconsistent content creation? Because I talk a lot about why it is important that you create content consistently and publish consistently. But sometimes I think it's interesting and really helpful to flip a piece of advice and say, okay, well, if you don't take this advice, what are things going to look like? What's going to happen? What are the dangers of not taking a piece of advice that is very crucial to the development of the writing career that you want? So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. If you are not already subscribed to the Revision Fairy channel, click the red subscribe button below the video and tap the notification bell so that you get a little email notification just to let you know that I've published something new for you. I make videos about once a week that help you become a more hireable writer. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you turn notifications on so you don't miss a video going forward. I'm back at it. I'm going to produce videos once a week, which is how often I like to publish. If for some reason that doesn't happen, it's not because I don't want to. I really like putting out something once a week. So and this video is basically about why you should set the type of publishing schedule that you do and stick with it consistently. Because that's what I always tell you. But you see, here's what happens if you don't do that and you're trying to build a writing career or a creative career in general. It is difficult for the audience that you want to build. Let's just stick with writing to keep it pretty straightforward for this example. It is difficult for the readers that you want to attract to your writing to understand what you do and what you're all about and the topics that you're interested in if you don't give them something consistently to follow, if you're not consistently building out that writing portfolio that is just a really accurate and comprehensive sample of what you do, or more accurately, lots of different samples of what you do, because most writers have a lot of different interests, but when it comes down to it, they're focused on just a few things, but within those few things, there's still a lot of different subjects to talk about. So the more that you produce, the more easy it is for someone else to see what you're all about. So using my disappearance as an example, I already had over 90 videos on this channel when I, took an unexplained or sudden break. So I don't necessarily fit into the category of the person that I'm giving advice to. And you'll see this fairly often, that sometimes when people give advice, it is obvious that they're not taking it all the time, that they're not taking their own advice. And it's not necessarily hypocritical. I think it's just by the time you're in a position to give advice, you have transcended where you used to be when you needed that advice. So people who give advice are often giving advice to people who are in an earlier stage of development than where they're at. So that's why, sometimes it looks like someone who's giving advice isn't necessarily taking that advice. It doesn't mean it's not good advice. It doesn't mean I should have just, disappeared without explaining. But extenuating circumstances happen, and, the important thing is getting back into it if you do fall off of the schedule that you ideally would like to follow. I should have taken a sip of water instead of a very large pause there. 1 second. So that is the first thing that I wanted to talk about. The second thing that I want to talk about, which is a danger of inconsistent content creation, is that it's difficult for potential people who might want to hire you or work with you to see your work ethic if you are not putting out something consistently. And again, just using a personal example, I have a huge writing portfolio outside of what I do on YouTube. So anyone who is looking, to work with me or anything like that, not that I do any one-on-one work, but I've already built that. So I think kind of the lesson here is, if you've already built a substantial amount of work and you're established, it's easier to produce things inconsistently, and to take unexplained breaks. Again, not excusing what I did, because I always like to give a heads up. Like when I take a break towards the end of the year, I like just giving a heads up in a video, say, hey, I'm not going to be around for 6 weeks or whatever, 8 weeks, because I'm taking time off. So I would like to do that. I would suggest that other people do that if they know that they are not going to be around for a while. It's just, kind of common courtesy and setting the right expectations for your audience, so that they know what's going on, since you're developing this relationship with the people who follow the creative work that you do. So that's always good if it's possible to give a heads up about what you're doing. But I lost my train of thought there, actually. But I think I got it out, and I think it's pretty clear what I'm trying to say about how you have more leeway if you've done more work. But the advice that I'm giving all the time about consistent content creation is, hey, if you're just starting out, if you're building up your creative portfolio, and specifically your writing portfolio, you need to show up consistently for a while, because it's going to help establish to your audience what you're all about, the type of subject you like to cover, why you are an expert on those subjects, and why they should follow you. And it's also going to demonstrate your work ethic, that you can show up consistently, that you commit to something, and you put things out there. If you don't have that, if someone can't see that, then you're asking your audience to guess something, and really, there's no reason why they should believe you if you haven't done it. So your writing portfolio is your proof. The content that you put out consistently is your proof of your creative abilities, and it's proof of your work ethic and your dedication to a project that you have committed to. So that's it. That's what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. And I have a resource that I want to share with you today that I'm not affiliated with in any way, other than it comes from one of my favorite people, Sonia Simone. And I don't say one of my favorite people lightly. And what makes Sonia so special, and so special to me, is that she was one of my favorite people years before we even met. I'm talking about years when I just followed her work online. And I just thought she was so terrific, and I loved her writing, and I just really got a great impression of her. And then the really special part comes from the fact that I actually do know her now, and we worked closely together for years, and I can still say that she is one of my favorite people, and I've met lots and lots of people, and I just, she's terrific, and I'm just really lucky to know her, because that doesn't always happen. Sometimes when you meet people who you have admired from afar, they're disappointed, or you just kind of think like, oh, that they're not so great, like a sort of don't meet your heroes situation. And it's not like that at all with Sonia, which I do think is, rare. I think most of the time you do get disappointed if you've built someone up where you think they're really cool, and then it's hard when you put someone on a pedestal like that for them to live up to it. And again, I just have such a great working relationship with Sonia, and she has a new community called Creative Fierce. And one thing that Sonia and I really like to geek out about, and something that we're both so fascinated with, is the intersection of creativity and productivity, which I talk a lot about on this channel. We're really fascinated about the qualities that help someone produce creative work on command, or really the skill set that you can strengthen that helps you produce creative work on command. Because what separates people who do creative work as hobbies and people who do creative work professionally that they get paid to do is that the creative professionals can be creative on command. It's not like, my YouTube channel. YouTube is not my job. That's a creative hobby. I draw something once every 6 months now. I'm not drawing very consistently, but drawing is a creative hobby. And Sonia and I both really value creative hobbies. And if that's your thing, like that has so much value in and of itself. The challenges can come along is if you have the work ethic of someone who does creativity as a hobby, but you want to work professionally. There's sort of a gap there because, again, people who do creative work professionally have to show up and do that creative work on demand. It's not leisurely, it's work, it's creative work, which is by definition, different from a hobby, which is more leisurely. So Creative Fierce is a really cool community that Sonia created, and I don't think there's any better person to have a really realistic accountability community because Creative Fierce, to me, when I took a look at it, it was just so human. Sonia's really realistic about getting things done. She really understands that people have other things to do and they have other responsibilities. But if your creative work is important to you, you need to carve out time and you need to show up for that also. So what I found very different about Creative Fierce from other productivity communities is just how human it is. Again, because it comes from a really great person, because I've already been singing Sonia's praises. So I'm going to put a link in the description box below if you want to check out Creative Fierce, Sonia's community. Again, I'm not affiliated with it at all. She does not know that I'm making this video. I'm going to share it. So hi, Sonia. But yeah, I don't get anything from it for that sort of disclosure. But something else that I wanted to mention too, because obviously I work for Copyblogger and we have the Copyblogger Pro community, which is a super great resource. Also, I'll put a link to that in the description box below too. And I think Copyblogger Pro and Creative Fierce really complement each other in a lot of ways. The sort of example I've been thinking of it as, or analogy, is Copyblogger Pro is almost like a university campus with tons of education. I love all that education inside of Copyblogger Pro. I think it is fantastic. I've created part of it, and I've been a big part of that development. So I love all the education in there. Fantastic networking, really, really great community, everything that you would get on a university campus, really. But then your own individual study groups that you create with, your best peers, and by best peers, I'm just thinking like the people who you really have a bond with, who are going to hold you accountable and are going to help you get the most out of your education on this big university campus, is more of what Creative Fierce is like. Everything inside of Creative Fierce, again, check out the link below, that explains it more, is like having those really great study buddies who, really help you narrow down what is important about everything else that you've been learning, and help you execute on those things. Because again, it's executing on your creative visions that are going to push you forward and are going to help you grow that creative career that you want, if that's what you're looking for. So yeah, just a resource that I wanted to share today. I think I'm going to leave it at that, because I just really want you to check it out. So there's no reason for me to keep talking. But again, I make videos every week that help you become a more hireable writer. So if you're into seeing more about that in the future, click the subscribe button below the video, tap the notification bell, and also give this video a thumbs up if you'd like to hear about more resources, because there's only so much I can produce every week. So when I find resources that I would personally use and I think are really helpful, I would like to share them. So give this video a thumbs up if you want to hear more about that, and also to support Sonia, because again, I'm going to share this video with her. So giving this video a thumbs up will help more people see it, which again will help more people discover the awesomeness that is Creative Fierce. So thank you so much for watching, and I will talk with you soon.